Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over backhand disc golf form. Now I've studied all the pros, I've looked at all the variances in there, and I boiled everything down to one correct sequence that everyone must do in order to throw far and throw accurately. I've studied Ezra, I've studied Paul, I've studied Ricky, I've studied Chris and Tatar. I looked at everyone, I looked at what they did in common and where they varied, and so we're going to go through that today. I'm making this video for my friends, but I felt like every single person could benefit from this. Anyone who's new or has been there playing for a while, I think there's some insight that everyone can use in order to get better. Now there's a tournament going on. I'm going to try to be respectful, so if I cut and stop here, it's because I want to give them enough, not be a distraction for them. Anyhow, okay. So every single disc golf throw, everything that the pros do, they first start with a staggered stance. So when they stand, their front foot and their back foot, there's a gap in there. Now, depending on your body, that depends on how big your gap is. Drew Gibson says ideally you want your back toe to end at your front heel. But I have clown feet, so for me it's a little bit back. Although when I actually throw, you probably see it way out here. Okay, so you have the staggered stance. Next thing, key thing is everything has to happen on a line. So you have your target and you have a line from the target all the way back. And everything you do has to happen on this line. So you want to set your front foot, your plant foot, parallel or back towards the line. You don't ever want your foot pointing forward towards your target because then you're going to lose a lot of the ability to turn. So the next absolute non-negotiable to have is a backswing. A disc golf throw is a backswing and a swing through. That is a disc golf swing at its core. So every pro backswings like this. Now you're all confused. You're probably going to get really upset with me because they're like, no, a lot of backswings are different. But every pro backswings like this. Whether it's Ezra or Drew, Paul, Emerson Keith, Sepapayu, Ricky, Matt O, Paige Pierce, everyone backswings where they get shoulder to hip separation of about 90 degrees. Now I think that's the key differentiator between a pro arm and pro distance versus amateur distances. That ability to be able to be at 90 degrees with your shoulders, but like forward at the camera and produce power through. So every backswing, ideally, can be on the line, but it doesn't have to, okay? But every swing through has to happen on the line. What I mean is, the swing through cannot be straight arm across. You don't have that spring, and you don't have that accuracy. So the idea is you want to have a straight line, whether it's tape or whatever. Start the disc on the line and move through a rotation of your body with the disc on the line. You want to eject the disc on the line. Okay, so you have a staggered stance, feet parallel to the target or slightly turned behind. We'll get into why. And then you have your backswing where you're rotating. You're not leaning back and pushing forward. You are rotating back and you're rotating forward, and your disc is on a line. Let's talk about the power pocket. So when you're here at 90 degrees at the shoulder and 90 degrees at the elbow, they call that the power pocket. And ideally you want to achieve this power pocket in order to sling the disc forward. You don't want to be wider, and you don't want to be like, I don't know what the other wrong thing with the power pocket is, but ideally you want to be able to have 90 degrees at the shoulder, 90 degrees at the elbow. So that is a key point to make, and you want that to be on the line. Now let's talk about the off arm. So a lot of pros have different off arms. Here's the main non-negotiable of a disc golf throw. You need your arm tucked by your side by the time the disc is approaching or is in the power pocket. The reason why is because you see figure skaters, when they rotate really quickly, their arms are in. I think that's called conservation of momentum by the physicists. I don't know, I'm not a physicist. So you ideally want everything to be in tight as you rotate, so you can rotate faster and get more power. How you get there, it depends. So Some pros, you see them with their off arm out and they swing in. Some pros chop down. Garrett Gerthy, you see his arm shoot down like this as he comes through. Doesn't matter how you get there, you just have to get there. So let's talk about ejection of the disc. So when you're here and you're pulling through, ideally you don't want to open your hand. If you throw a ball, you don't ever throw it like that, right? You throw and you spin it and you follow through. Well, it's the same thing with a disc. You don't want to let go of the disc and help it out of your hand, because then you'll see a lot of wobble, you see a lot of inconsistencies, you see a lot of loss of power. So ideally what you want to do, you don't have to grip the disc super tightly. You can if you want to. Every grip's different. But you want the disc to follow through on the line and then rip out of your hand and you follow through. So this leads us to the next non-negotiable. You have to follow through on the line that you're throwing the disc. Meaning, whichever way the disc is angled, so say it's angled this way, my arm has to follow through parallel that way. If not, if I'm throwing here and I'm following through here, the disc is gonna go like this, it's gonna wobble, and there are a lot of issues. So think of it as a disc. Yes, it has to spin. So you want your follow through to match that so the disc spins on the angle that you want it to. You don't have to give it extra spin, because as your body's rotating through, it'll create spin naturally. Okay, let's talk about leg action. So there's, I don't want to say debate, it's really not much of a debate. There's just a lot of misinformation out there, whether there's a style of disc golf called back leg disc golf or front leg disc golf. It's really semantics, because when you look at all sports, right, any throw has a front brace foot, whether it's baseball, football, baseball swing. This front foot straightens out, stops the forward momentum, and the rotation comes through. It's the same thing with disc golf, right? Both legs have separate roles. Your plant leg stops the forward momentum or takes the weight as you pull through. The back leg pushes in and helps with rotation, and you extend. I love this channel on YouTube called Top Velocity. It's for pitching, where they talk about triple extension. Extension at the hip, extension at the knee, extension at the ankle, okay? So with the standstill, you're on your backswing. What happens is your back leg pushes forward and extends while the front leg resists and pushes back, and that allows you to spin tighter. So that is the footwork action. So let's talk about a walk-up, because off the tee you see a lot of pros walk up, and every pro walks up with a minimum of 3 steps. You typically see 4 or 5, but it all ends in the same 3 steps. Step, cross, plant, okay? So the non-negotiables of a walk-up is the last 3 steps. Everything else before that is stylistic. So for the purposes of numbering the steps so we can figure out how we can tailor it to ourselves, we'll name this step here the step 1, the cross step, step 2, and the plant step, step 3. Now there are variations to step 2, to the X step. So you can walk and cross and plant, or you can walk, hop, cross, and plant, or you can step, hop, not cross, they call it a Brinster hop, and plant. Eric Oakley does that last one. I don't know if Kristen Tatar does the hop cross, but I know Ricky and Isaac Robinson does. So let's recap on the non-negotiables here. So we have step, cross, step staggered. We have a backswing. We have a swing through, follow through on the same plane. Now let's talk about when we backswing. So some people you'll see will step, cross, and backswing on step 3. Some other people step and then slow down their backswing and they finish their backswing on step 3. You want to finish your backswing fully when this plant leg touches, because nothing should go forward until this plant leg plants. So when you're here, then you have more potential energy to swing through and be powerful. Now, you see a lot of pros, they'll add 4 or 5 steps, or sorry, 2 steps to the 3 steps. So you see some people, You'll step side and then do the 1, 2, 3. Some people do step, step, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. That's stylistic. So with that said, now we have all the non-negotiables. Let's figure out how you build your own form. So one thing I haven't mentioned yet is where you pull through. Should you pull through high, medium, low? And really, it depends on the person. You want to pull through where you get the most distance. So you want to go into a field, get 2 discs or more of the same mold, of the same weight, of the same run. That's neutral flying, that's straight for you. And you want to just do a standstill and pull through low, higher, higher, and then end up really, this is as high as you go, like neck level. No, most people don't throw neck level, but try it out and then pick whichever one flies furthest for you, and that's where you pull. So for me, I'm here, right, wherever that is. I don't know what level that is, but that's just most comfortable for me. So that's the first thing you should do. Figure out where you're strongest and most accurate here. Keep everything on a line. Drop some tape down, draw a line, whatever it is. Now the reason why I have 2 lines here is because sometimes when people pull on a line, in order to get the most power, they extend out off the line, but when they release it, it's on a parallel line. That's fine. It's called, I call it changing lanes. If you're still hitting the same line to your target, but it's just a little bit to the left if you're a right-handed thrower because you extend out here, that's fine. If you have 2 trees here and you have to hit a gap, just take a step back and just line there. So that's why I have 2 parallel lines here. But ideally you want to get multiples of the same disc, neutral flying, and test out how hard you can throw each level in order to figure out where your swing path should be. So your backswing, right, backswing, swing through. Let's talk about all the variances. So some pros, just their body naturally comes up like this, like Ricky, right? Ricky, Matteo, Calvin Heimberg. Generally, when you teach form, ideally you want things to be uniform so we don't mess with any of the variables, but I can't argue with some of the top players in the world, right? It's all stylistic. It's how your body wants to work. As long as the disc comes out on the line that you want, at the level that you want, and you're not throwing nose up and you're not swooping up and you're losing a lot of distance that way, it's fine. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for that, but you know, you have to get out to the field and do what your body does best in order to produce the best result. Some people, we talk about rounding, so some people when they reach back, they reach behind their body and come through. I'm personally not a fan of that. I think the fastest way and most consistent way to shoot forward is in a straight line. So when you reach back, when you swing back, you want to stay outside your body frame and pull through in a straight line. Some people don't do that. Some people, like Emerson Keith, you see the disc comes out like this, but the difference is that Emerson Keith keeps his power pocket here. He stays in the power pocket the whole time. He reaches back and coils his shoulder, and that's his backswing, and he shoots through with a lot of power. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with him. So those are things to keep in mind. Now another stylistic point is how many steps you want to take up. Most pros take up 5. Even James Conrad, he's just a really long guy. Looks like he just ran in from the last county. So you could step, 1, 2, 3. You can step, 1, hop 3. And you can step, 1, hop, like Brinster hop without crossing 3. It doesn't matter. That's all whatever your body does best. For me, I've done the walk up a lot, but I chose to add a hop in because my weakness here is I tend to swoop, because by the time I'm at my peak backswing here, I haven't crushed the can with my front foot yet. So I'm thinking I'm pulling from here, but I'm actually pulling from here and I'm swooping up. So what the hop step has done for me is it's allowed me to keep my body stable. So when I pull through, I'm pulling through on the same line. So guys, that's the backhand at its basic core. There's what you have to do, there's what you can do to personalize your throw, Once you have your throw, you put it all together, you've tried all these different things, and you find out what flies furthest for you and straightest for you, keep that. Keep that, practice it, get out to the field, practice it, put in hours and hours of practice on it, and develop that. And over time, you'll get your distance. Once you have proper positioning of your body before this heel comes down and your plant leg plants, all of that then is just coordination of getting the disc through on the line. Whether you pull like a lawnmower or whether you do the box drill, it doesn't matter. Just get there with power and do what works for you, and don't think about it too much. Okay, the only things you should think about is 1, 2, backswing, or 1, start your backswing, plant, and then pull through on a line and follow through. That's all you should think about. You shouldn't think about, like, you know, in this particular second, I'm gonna put my arm down, and then at this particular moment, I'm gonna pull through. You have to just start slow and just let your body flow and do what it's designed to do. You can't think in nanosecond speeds and be able to coordinate your whole body like that. So just plant and throw, and do not throw before you're planted. Do not start here and start rotating, or start rotating before you plant, because if you do, you're going to lose a lot of distance. You're going to be very inaccurate, and that's not going to be a throw that works for you. All right, guys, happy shooting out there. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next video.